Hey, it's Tim Baldermann, and welcome to this edition of Too Honest for Social Media. We're here today talking about the hottest topic on social media in New Lenox, the Roundabout. We're also going to talk about our MFT program that deals with all of our local roads and how they get paved and selected for that sort of thing. But joining me today is Will Nash, our engineer here at the Village of New Lenox. Will, how you doing?
Doing well, thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, I asked Will if he wanted to have a co-guest with him, but he said no. He wants to go solo. He's got all the information, right, buddy?
Sounds good.
All right, very, very good. All right, Will, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how long you've been with the Village.
Sure. So I'm graduated with a civil engineering degree in 1997. Worked in the industry as a consultant for about 15 years before I came over to the Village. I've been here for 16, 17 years now, I think, somewhere around there. So been here a little bit. Got a pretty good understanding of what's expected, what roads are ours, what roads are some other people's, and things of that nature.
All right. Well, you know why we do this podcast, because there's so much bullshit on social media. Were you surprised? Are you on Facebook?
I am.
How come we're not friends on Facebook?
I don't know. I got to do that too.
Yeah, you better take care. After you subscribe to this podcast,
Yes,
we'll be friends on Facebook. All right, so you're on Facebook. It must amaze you at all of our expert engineers on Facebook that know so much more about roads than you do.
It gets frustrating at times. There are some good points on there and good things that people point out that, you know, they're driving, they see that I don't see on a daily basis. So there's some good to it as well. But yeah, there are quite a few people that think they know better than everybody in this building, unfortunately.
That's right. If they do know better, if you can point out some of these people that know better, let me know. Maybe you won't have the job security that you think you have, but I would hope that you're our resident expert.
Agreed.
Do you feel confident in that?
I do.
All right, where'd you get your civil engineering degree from?
I went to the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and my degree is actually from Lincoln because that's where the engineering college was out of.
Oh, nice. So you got a major in engineering and a minor in cow tipping? Is that what you're...
something like that,
something along that?
Yeah, shucking corn.
A lot of good things happening out in the Cornhusker State. So, all right, so everybody is going to want to hear about the Roundabout, but we're going to tease them with that.
Sure.
We'll get to that in just a minute. Let's talk about MFT, which stands for what?
Motor fuel tax.
That's right, and that's money that comes from the state, but we supplement it as well.
Correct.
So in your time here, certainly in my time as mayor, we would repair about 1.5 miles of local roads a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, overlay them, do what we have to do. So a local road lasts about how long typically?
About 20 years is our goal.
Okay.
Yes.
And of course, there are things that happen that change it, but about
Yes.
20 years. So when we became a home rule community, we said that we wanted to do about 7 miles of local road. And that does what? That kind of gives us new roads every 20 years locally?
Correct. That was our goal, was to be able to replace all the roads every 20 years in that cycle.
Right. And what are some of the things that happen that might speed that up on a road where it needs attention quicker?
There's just potholes that show up out there, things of that nature. If there was utility work that needed to happen where we were digging chunks of the road, or maybe one of our other utility companies in the area had that, where maybe that just made that area a little bit worse. A lot of it is truck traffic, snow plows, salt, that type of stuff. We've been working with our public works group to do some traffic maintenance, or pavement maintenance, I guess is a better term for that, to help make some of those roads last a little bit longer and things. But it's generally just the use and traffic and things of that nature that may make it a little bit shorter timeline than the preferred 20 years.
So how many miles of road do we have out here roughly? And of course, we've talked on previous podcasts about how there's local roads and then there's county roads or state roads. I mean, they're not all ours, but we've got a lot of.
We're probably in the 150 mile range, give or take a little bit, and that's just straight center line miles.
Sure.
So as you look, some of the roads are a little bit wider than others, but center line miles, we got about 150.
So that gets us that every 20 years. If we're doing
Correct.
7 miles of it, it gets us pretty close to that.
Correct. Yes.
And so how do you determine which roads are next?
Sure. So engineering and public works work together pretty well to kind of go out, take a look at the roads. We've got a program of listed out for the next 5 years that we update every year. So some of those roads that might have been year 2 or year 3, maybe those flip-flop, things of that nature. Just some roads do much better through the winter than others sometimes, so we've got to change them. But we kind of go out, evaluate the roads, rate them. You can pick a number, however many you want, like 1 to 10 is pretty simple. So we kind of look at that, and age, obviously, and where we get calls from residents, where there's potholes, where we have those issues. So try to factor all those things in and come up with a game plan for, at a minimum, the next 5 years, based on all the money that the board's given us recently to be able to do that, and then reevaluate that yearly and add to the next year and stuff like that to make sure that we're prepared for if we luck out and get money from the, or you just don't get money from the state, but from some other source, we're ready to go if need be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, money is one of the things we don't get from the state. We get a lot of bullshit, but we don't get much money.
Agreed.
All right, so where can people find out if their road is in the queue?
So generally, we haven't posted that online or anything, but I'm happy to share that with anybody if they want to call the engineering department. We can share that. I just sharing that list, if we change that and move it around, it tends to upset some people. So we try to put you in a 2 to 3 year window of time that, hey, you're getting close on here, we're looking at you, we're keeping an eye on that. So if anybody has any questions, they can feel free to call the engineering department when we can help them with
because it has to be fluid. So every year you're reevaluating
correct
the roads.
Correct.
It happens every year in the spring or something right after okay.
Yeah, basically as the snow melts, we go back out there and see what additional damage may have happened through the wintertime. Yes.
All right, so now if you can't get to a road for a while, we cold patch or something. Explain what that is.
So a lot of the cold patch will happen when it's cold out. Obviously, that's where the name comes from. But we can fill in potholes with the cold patch material and stop that from getting any worse. And then generally, if we have that out there, a lot of times either Public Works will go out and do some patching. They've got some new equipment that they've purchased here in the last few years to allow them to do some bigger patches and things like that we couldn't do in-house before. As part of that MFT program, not just resurfacing an entire street, but we have a patching program, so we're able to go out with that that project and patch a few areas that are bad and things like that. So we try to basically get you through the winter with some cold patch and things, and then when the warmer weather rolls around, get out and do some actual hot mix patching, and hopefully that gets us to our 20-year timeline.
All right, so we've talked a lot about the growth out here in New Lenox, and in the early 2000s is when we really saw some big residential growth. So if you're talking about roads that are lasting 20 years, there was that period of time where we had so many subdivisions built. So they would be timing out all at the same time, a lot more than 7 miles of road.
Correct.
So you have to kind of look at that and try and play catch up.
A little bit, and it's actually worked out very well for us long term, because a lot of those roads they haven't all crumbled at the same time. We've really lucked out where we're able to spread those out over a couple 3 years and be able to get to them in a 2 or 3 year window for some of those subdivisions. I remember when I first started here, it was 400 houses a year,
right.
So it was, as you said, is a lot of subdivision roads and things, and it's worked out fairly well for us, just, tracking that and looking at that next 5 years to make sure that, we think our, doing 7 miles of roads every year is going to work for us.
So there's a lot of ways people can communicate with us here at the Village. If somebody has concerns about their road, it may just be a couple potholes that need to be filled, or if they really feel like it should be on that list. I know you guys are responsive and go out there. What's the best way for them to communicate that? Is it through the report of concern?
That's a good way to do that. And then, on there, just letting us know, hey, you want us to email you back, give you a call back, or you could call the community development department and ask for engineering or ask for myself. And, we're happy to talk through it with you and at least give you an update on what is planned to be done out there and kind of what that timeline looks like.
All right. So, of course, on our website is Report of Concern, and that's where people can fill out what their issue is. Is that a better way to go than going on Facebook and bitching about something, or what's the better avenue?
Definitely the Report of Concern.
That's the way to go. All right. Well, I'm just glad to hear that. All right. Well, speaking of Facebook and complaints, Roundabout time.
All right.
We're going to talk
Get at
about
it.
the roundabout. You know things are going well in town when the roundabout is the biggest issue. Now, I will say this. For the people who live in the area where the roundabout is being built, and for the people who are close to there that are affected by the rerouting of traffic, there's some real concerns. I mean, construction is difficult no matter where you go, but for the people who live on Haven, for the people who live in that area just west of Haven in particular, for the businesses that are on Church Street or Cedar, we feel bad. I mean, it is really, really tough to deal with that. And so they have legitimate concerns that I think we've done a decent job of addressing. But you can't catch everything. But let's talk about some of the others. So Jerry took to Facebook to say, oh yeah, it's going to be stupid. People in New Lenox are going to hate it, me included. Should there be that fear of roundabouts, Will?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's a pretty simple intersection to, figure out how to drive through it. They're becoming more and more prevalent around, the Midwest. I mean, they're all over the country, especially, you get out of our state and go to Indiana or Wisconsin, they're everywhere. So
you're saying our state's a little behind the times? That's shocking to me.
A little bit.
Shocking that Illinois is not first in doing something well.
A little bit with the roundabout, but I think there is a learning curve to it, obviously. It's something different. We didn't have any a year ago. Now we're going to have one up at Sports Complex, and we're going to have this one. So people are going to get used to driving through them. I think everybody's driven through one at some point or another in their lifetime, unless you're a brand new driver, obviously. But it's pretty simple. You just you yield to the right and kind of make your way through there, and then get out. So
I mean, if Jerry is going to hate it that much, I hate to ask him how he feels about his mother-in-law. I mean, if a road is going to have that kind of impact on him. How about here's what I think was a good question. But then again, people take it to a place that they don't need to. The question was, well, it really wasn't a question, but it may well bring all traffic to a standstill when there's a train and no one can enter or exit. Okay, I think that's a fair, it should have been posed as a question maybe, but it's a fair comment to make. Is that anything that you're concerned about?
Not that we were through that design process and using a traffic engineering study and things like that to look at it. Really, to current day, I don't think traffic backs up that far all the way to that intersection at any point that we're dealing with now. And I think that will kind of keep that same traffic pattern. I don't think we'd have it backed up all the way that far.
Well, unfortunately, you're wrong, Will, because one of our Facebook engineers said it absolutely will. Every day, the intersection's blocked because of the train. The only flow is turning right onto Haven from Cedar going north or Haven going south onto Cedar. Once everyone is in that circle, we will all be trapped. Makes absolutely no sense to use a roundabout so close to the train and tracks.
And
How'd you miss that?
I don't know. I'm not an expert at everything apparently, but looking through, having our consultant help us with that, people that have done these roundabouts in other places and looking at all the different options that we have there, we don't think that that's going to be an issue of having a standstill, people stuck in traffic. The lanes are fairly wide going through that roundabout to facilitate traffic to be able to move through it easily, that if there is a stoppage there, I think people still can get around it and get to where they're trying.
And they may have to go down Haven or something as opposed to north on Cedar.
Correct.
But they won't be trapped.
Correct.
You're not concerned about vehicles being trapped there.
No, there's a fairly large truck apron. Should anything ever happen through there, you've got a 16-foot wide lane to start with, and another 15-foot wide truck apron with a mountable curb. So if there is a need for that to get through there somehow, there are ways to get around it if need be.
And let's face it, that intersection. I mean, people have always struggled with that intersection.
Correct.
So you don't have traffic stop on southbound Cedar,
right?
But cars constantly stop at the yield sign,
yes,
which backs things up.
Yes.
And then you have eastbound Haven, where 2 and 3 cars are going at a time, not letting anybody turn onto southbound Cedar from Haven. So I don't care what happens with this roundabout, it has to be better than what we have going on now.
Agreed. And that project started, I think, before you were mayor and before I started working here, looking at that and, evaluating all the different opportunities and different things we could have done there, straightening it out. It gets concerning because now you don't have a stop sign. You have people moving through that intersection. So the people on Haven, it's tough to make a left-hand turn. So you looked at, closing Haven. Do you make that a dead-end street? Do you put a traffic signal in there? Traffic signal wasn't going to fly with IDOT. It's too close to Cedar and 30 already. So we couldn't really do that. And all of those things don't really make it any safer, I don't believe. The roundabout, one of the biggest things with the roundabout is you get rid of some of those conflict movements where, you don't have a T-bone collision anymore. So if you do have accidents, they're generally like a glancing blow as opposed to that T-bone I mentioned before. So it's a lot less, personal injury stuff. It's just a little more, a little more safe for everybody.
It's safer and it's more efficient.
Correct. You don't have people, unless everybody else on your Facebook page is right, you're not stopping at a light. You're not idling. You're not waiting at that light forever to turn. You're moving through that intersection. You keep going. So it's, a little more fuel efficient and things as well.
So I've been mayor 18 years. You say this was discussed before I became mayor.
The files that we had when I got here and started, it had been going on.
Who got it done, though, buddy?
You did.
Who got it done?
You did, Mayor.
Well, me and the board.
Yes, sorry.
And our qualified engineer.
Thank you.
Got
Yes.
that stuff done. And not only that, we were able to secure funding for about 80% of that project.
Correct.
So that's the taxpayers are not paying for that.
Correct.
Which is good.
It's fantastic.
All right, that's all. One of the other things that happened out there was, of course, sidewalk had to be broken up because of utilities and whatnot. Our friend Kathy, who's a frequent flyer in Facebook information, said, hope somebody can answer this. Why did we spend money to lay new sidewalks where the roundabout is supposed to go? Now, why would we do that, Will?
So there were, as you mentioned, some utility work that went on to get out of the way before our roundabout could start. And so we had a few areas through there that were missing pieces of sidewalk and, we're just stone back through there. And that was late last fall. And we felt it really wasn't a safe situation to just leave that as stone throughout the winter. There are, a lot of people that walk that way to get to the train. There's some kids in the area getting to school buses and things. So we felt it was worth it to replace all that sidewalk and get it back so you had a safe place to walk, not getting into Cedar Road, not getting into Haven Avenue while you're walking because you're worried about where you're going. So we felt that was needed to keep things safe in that area.
It would have been 6 or 7 months without sidewalk pieces there. It would have, and especially in the winter.
Yeah, that was our worry.
It would have been a really hazardous situation.
Yes.
So you didn't do it because you wanted to waste taxpayer money. You did it because of safety?
Correct.
All right, buddy. I just want to show you something. This is an egg that was made at Easter from my buddy Nate, and it says, "Thanks a lot, Tim." And it has a picture of the roundabout painted on there and 4/20/25 last Easter without the S-curve. Nate, thank you for that. I understand they have a Easter egg coloring contest every year, and he was the winner. It does amaze me that people are so fascinated with the roundabout when they're not they're not unique.
Correct.
They're just like you said, maybe a little unique to this area, but they're not a unique thing. They're safe, efficient travel.
Yes. Agreed.
Well, buddy, I appreciate you being here today. You're right.
Thanks
You
for
did
having
not
me.
need a co-guest. You handled it perfectly.
All right.
Really proud of you. You learned a lot out in Nebraska. I guess there was nothing else to do but study.
Something like that.
So we're glad that you spent your time doing that. You do a great job for us here, and we certainly, like you said, would encourage anybody that has concerns about their local roads, and it does happen. There's no doubt about it. A lot of these local roads get torn up because there are a lot of people driving there, and winters can be They're not as rough as they used to be, but they can still be rough with the salt. So they should just reach out through report a concern.
Definitely. Yep.
Or Will on your personal Facebook page.
Sure.
Will Nash, personal Facebook, friend request Will for all your engineering needs and concerns.
There you go. Bingo.
All right. Appreciate you, buddy. Want to thank you for joining this podcast of Too Honest for Social Media. We'll look forward to talking to you next time.